48-hour art check, round 32. Wrong button.
All right.
I had my finger on the right button. Okay.
All right.
So,
That was hilarious. It's like 48-hour art check.
long, dramatic pause.
So should we explain the drawn out pause? I'm feeling like this story might be getting a little old, but if you guys have been following, Cory is currently dealing with being a new father to his second child and like a newborn and just lack of sleep. And I am running on my second week straight of every single work day being an overtime day, and just trying to keep my patience and stuff at work. And yeah, so we're both pretty wiped. I think Cory probably more so, because you're probably to the point of maybe delirium, I'm guessing, at this point, maybe.
Maybe. I did have to splash water on my face right before going live. But I don't know. You've got like a ridiculous commute on top of all the overtime that you've been putting in. Like, how many days straight?
So this is, the second week. So literally, like, March the second week of just nonstop overtime. So
Yeah,
I think there was one day where I didn't have to do overtime.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, it's part of, it's weird because I feel like I mentioned that I'm exhausted, and it can be a bad thing, but at the same time, like, I feel pretty thankful to be an art director, and it's a hard position to land. So it's like, it's kind of part of the territory of working in creative. It's kind of like the grading part of teaching, where it comes with the territory. It's unfortunate, but at the same time, if you want to teach, that's what you do. Same thing. If you want to be in a creative department, you gotta. If you're steering the ship right, you gotta stay over time. So
yeah, exactly.
If your team does,
right.
So let's should we make this one short just to kind of all right. So let's get into it. So, do you want me to kick it off? Or
yeah.
Do you
So what did you get done? We pushed this back. We pushed this back a day. So what did you get done in the last 3 days?
All right. Well, so yeah, we did push this for a day because it just worked out better for both of us that way. Things came up. Yeah. So what I've managed to get done, I pretty much hit my target. My hope was to be at the point of doing rough pencils and working out the whole environment. So that's what you see on the left side of the screen. And what you're going to see on the right is like just kind of a zoomed in picture of the characters that I'm starting to fill in. And just kind of like the nice thing about the rough, like doing this in rough pencil and then a tight pencil is when I have to do a lot of generic characters, I want to give them each personalities and stuff like that. And I feel that in the rough stage, it's nice because I can kind of work out the structure a little bit. And then when it comes to the tight pencils, I can kind of get in there and really make each character a little more unique rather than all of them just having the same kind of football head, although that is a little bit of the style. So, yeah, but I mean, that's pretty much what I got done. I also did manage to get to a minute 35 on that that kinetic type thing.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
It's not much progress, but it's still a little bit of progress, and I'm hoping to kind of get maybe 5 seconds more tonight. Like if I can do like 5 to 10 seconds a night, maybe more, that would be good. So, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. Working out wise, I've been sticking with that, and I'm just fighting the urge to kind of give up on creative projects, which is always like kind of lingering, and we'll get into that with struggles and stuff, but yeah. So what about you? How did you do on what you were hoping to do?
Yeah, so I did get a video up. I had drawn this the other day, and so now there's a time-lapse speed drawing of it, and I'll talk about the subject of the video. I was going to look for the subject of this video, and the subject presented itself. So, anyway, it was a bit of a rant. So I was able to do that. I did work on kind of refining the text of the book a little bit more, because I want to get that done soon. And then I also have been lining up artists for my YouTube channel, and I've got quite a few people that I'm contacting, and we're working out dates, and a couple of those have like solidified dates, and some of them are kind of tentative, and some of them I haven't heard back from yet. And so that's pretty much it on the creative side. I don't know, it's been one of those time periods where I'm doing a lot of the non-creative stuff. I mean, it's not much, but I mean, it's moving a lot of different projects forward, but it's not like I made a thing, look, you know, and so it's a little, it seems kind of deflating saying it out loud, but I haven't had a ton of time, and I'm at the point in a project where I can't like show visible work just because the visuals are done. So anyway, so that's kind of what I did. It was,
you know what though, that stuff is so important, because that's like for instance, when I'm finished with this Quarterly Stories graphic novel, like a good chunk of the content I'm going to be producing, I'm going to be a lot more gung-ho about it and kind of do tutorials and stuff on promoting, on you know, like drafting press releases, stuff like that. And that's the like really boring stuff that it can be engaging and exciting, but it also can be really disheartening because you have this finished project and you have to kind of put it out there and try to make it work. But the promotional stuff, like, that's a huge part of the work. Yeah. So it's like, you know, otherwise you might end up with beautiful work that's never seen in your lifetime. Or,
yeah, they find you dead in your 90s with all this work that nobody's ever seen.
Yeah, and one of the, you know, that's one of the worst fears, and one of the even worse fears than that is they just don't find the work. They're just like, oh, there's all this crap. Like, let's throw away this computer, and the website's not being paid for, you know? Like, so, so yeah, I mean, like, if you want your work to be seen, you have to do that little hustling, and I'd consider that just as much work, if not possibly more I don't know, it's a different kind of risk and reward.
And I feel like it's more taxing because the reward is possibly not there at all, but also is much more distant. Whereas the creation of the project, like, I make it, and every time I finish a part, I get a little reward because I finished a page, I finished a panel, I finished a chapter. You know, there's all these tiny little loops that you can close, but in the promotion of something, you're like, well, I'm working towards this nebulous thing that's 6 months down the road that may or may not bear fruit. That's it. You know, so it is kind of a different beast.
Yeah, it totally is. It's like, so yeah, it definitely counts.
Yeah.
And I think that does tie in a little bit with the goals. We were just talking about this before. We should probably start writing down the goals, and so we're gonna maybe we'll do that going forward, so we don't forget. Because like we're both so busy, and you know, I think this will go for anybody who's planning on taking on something like this. In order to sustain it, it's like you have to make it as simple, brief as possible, and also, like, you know, like, writing it down is not a bad tip, because considering the little amount of sleep you and I are having, particularly you right now, it's like, anyhow. All right, so let's get into struggles.
Okay, so what challenges have you had?
So this is going to be weird because I have to be a little vulnerable with it, but I've been gradually having more and more of those kind of just weird creeping doubts kind of come up.
Yeah. And
I'm familiar with them, and I don't get them as often as I did when I was a younger artist. but I do occasionally get these stabs of like, just the kind of thought of like, so what if you made a book? Like nobody's gonna read it and nobody cares, like, and I know that's like negative self-talk and stuff, but I've been really just like, it's been in the back of my brain for like the last week, and I've been kind of trying to fight that, and part of by fighting it, I'm just like literally just doing the work.
Yeah.
Because the realization I've come to, especially in the last week, and I'm sure it's something I've already had before, but it's like I have to rediscover it every once in a while, is like, I've done this before, and it's scary when you put yourself out there and you're doing work that, you actually care about, like your soul is in a little bit. And there's a risk to it, but at the same time, like if I don't finish the work and actually get it printed and get it out there, it's like it doesn't even have a shot. So I'm fighting it with my old trick of asking those few questions of like, one of them is, will this be harmful? Like, what's the result?
Right.
And that's the thing. Like, the worst result is the same either way.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not, by doing it, I'm not making it worse. And then, is it beneficial to do? Is it worth trying? Well, definitely worth trying. So I'm going to keep at it, but it has been, it's been interesting having that just kind of hit in the last week or so.
Yeah. I feel like those type of thoughts tend to surface in 2 points, like either a significantly crucial portion of the project, where it's kind of like a turning point, or just when everything else is happening in your life that's like super stressful, because I think your mind naturally is trying to triage, like what are the most important things? Do we really need to do this thing right now? I'm in emergency mode. What is the most important thing right now? And you have to kind of, the irony of that is that the important things never feel urgent, but the urgent things never really are that important a year later. And so you kind of have to trick yourself into like, no, this is important. It doesn't feel urgent, but it is important.
And that's important that you brought that up. It's like when I think about it, I do have a tendency, and I think we all do, to get lost in kind of the day-to-day of just the tasks that I need to do today. And sometimes even with these bigger projects, in order for it to be feasible, it's like you have to break it down in these little micro chunks, like we do on this show, where we're like, here's our goal, we're going to try to hit it. Mm-hmm. And I believe that by doing that, it has the advantage of you gain these little wins, gradually. But it's also very easy to kind of lose the forest for the trees, Yeah. And that can be kind of problematic. But like when I think about it, it's like with this comic, like my motivation should not be people caring or people reading it,
right,
or money or anything like that. My motivation should be to try to make a really great book.
Yeah.
And then from that, after it's completed and I'm trying to hustle and all of that, then I can have those worries, So.
Yeah.
And then, when I'm in a position to do something about it.
Right.
Because right now I'm not in much of a position to do much about it. I haven't finished the work. And so, it's like you can't get like a kit car or like start building a house and you're like halfway through and you just go, yeah, I mean, this probably will leak when it's raining. And, you know what I mean? Like, you kind of have to finish the project, and then you'll be able to step back and kind of fix things and adjust. And it's definitely, like, when I think about my project, I don't feel like I want to abandon it. I'm happy with it. So it's just more of that. I think it is coming up because I'm getting closer to finish, and like I've been working overtime in the last few weeks. So it's like a mix of being stressed, like you were describing, and also being at a point in the project where I'm like, wow, like it really is. I mean, it might be almost another year till it's finished. Like by May, I'm hoping. But I'm getting so much closer, and it actually does fill me with that like war of art kind of fear, you know, where you're like,
Right.
wow, so when this is done, like I actually have to do this, and I have to convention.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure. Anyhow, sorry, I'm going a little too long on that.
No,
But
it's
yeah,
fine. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm going through. Like some of what I've done recently is I keep getting ready for the first convention that I'm going to do that I've never done. So I'm talking to people and ordering things online and watching YouTube videos of people walking through Artist Alley and like pausing it and looking at people's booths and you know stuff like that. So yeah, it's weird because that's how I what is the word I'm looking for? Mitigate. That's how I kind of like lessen the fear and anxiety. Is I need to know more and research more and you know that type of thing.
yeah,
So yeah, kind of interesting.
yeah, and
Go ahead.
it's interesting to me that like I'm still gonna have to like research and try out a lot of things. Like I've done like press releases and stuff, but it's been like quite a while since I've done like a hardcore press release, like
Yeah.
reached out to blogs and sites and stuff. So it is kind of like starting from ground zero again. But it's funny. I would have thought like that kind of tension would go away after you've gone through it once. And I'm starting to realize like I guess it probably doesn't. The only advantage is now I can be like, well, I've done this rodeo before.
Right.
You know, and I've had it go really well and I've had it go really poorly. And so I know both experiences and I survived it. So it's like, it's not going to be a big,
Yeah.
but it is interesting because we're making work that we actually care about. And it's not like I don't care about the work I do at work, but because it's so personal, it is one of those things where I really do want it to succeed.
Right.
You know, so, and I think we're in a similar boat like that. So
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
so let's dip into your struggles. Like, I mean, you know,
Okay. I have
Yeah.
3 quick stories.
you have some pretty major ones in the last few days.
Yeah. So story number 1. I use an app called Autodesk Sketchbook on my iPad, and I was doing something, and the way that it imported PNGs wasn't bringing in the alpha channel, which is incidental to this story. Long story short, as I was researching this little bug, I came across this thread where somebody was warning, don't update your iOS or you'll lose everything in the app. And so I actually, that's this. I went in and I started researching this, and Apple is going from 32-bit to 64-bit, and the end result of that is that I had to spend over an hour just transferring files one at a time. It was really frustrating. If you want to know more about that, go watch that video because I talked about it. The other one was just kind of incidental. A couple of buddies of mine were like, hey, let's go see Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I haven't seen it yet. And so we went, and I was thinking, okay, I can see this movie because it's early enough, and then I can come back and I'll get a couple hours of work done. And as I got on my bike to start it, the battery was dead, and so I got stranded in the parking lot of the movie theater because my motorcycle wouldn't start. So then I had to deal with that. And then the third one was I was sitting down about ready to get some work done, and I walked downstairs, and I have a fish tank, a 125-gallon fish tank. So this is all 3 days, one each day. And I looked at the fish tank, and half of the fish tank, which is like it's like an 8-foot wide fish tank, so 4 feet of it was just murky. And I was like, what is going on? And so, long story short, one of the 2 filters that I have crapped out. And so I was like, okay, so I had to clean it, which that takes like a couple hours.
Cleaning a fish tank of that size, well, cleaning any fish tank, but a substantial fish tank like that, that's going to take
Yeah, well, and
forever.
I'm not talking about the fish tank. I'm talking about the filter itself.
Ah,
And what you have to do is there are 6 different layers of different types of materials, and you have to clean each one differently. Um, and then, so then I did that. So that's like 2 hours. And then I put it all back together. And when I plugged everything back in and I connected all the things and I turned it back on, it started spraying water everywhere, all
oh my
over the
gosh.
place. And so then I spent the next several hours trying to figure out what was going on. And my guess was that the gasket had dried out. There's a little silicone gasket that goes around that kind of seals it from the lid. And so then I did some research on that, and I'm watching like plumbing videos, like stuff like this, because there's no like, here's your random model of a fish tank filter that you bought off of Amazon. There's no like videos on how to do that. So I had to kind of like extrapolate data from different points and try to figure it out. So at like 11:30, and my Walmart here closes at midnight, I'm in Walmart wandering around looking for a silicone-based grease or lubricant. And the caveat is that it needs to be non-toxic because I'm putting it in the filtration system that will pump water through the fish tank. And so I found some stuff in automotive that was silicone-based, but it was like huge warnings everywhere. It's like, if you ingest this, go immediately to the hospital. So I'm like, okay. And I found different things that were like 1 or 2 of the 3 requirements that I needed everywhere. And I finally ended up with this kind of Hail Mary where I found silicone-based, we'll call it personal lubricant, Astroglide. And I was like, well, it's silicone-based and it's non-toxic because it's ingestible. And so I was like, all right, we'll try this. And so it was kind of just, the store is closing, and it's one of those things where I can't just like, oh, I'll just do this tomorrow because my fish are all going to die. Like if I don't figure this out. And there's
So you're like urgently going to the checkout, like, I need to purchase this.
right. And so I got home and I took the Astroglide and I lubed up the gasket in my fish tank filter, and it worked. So it has sealed. Again, it's not spewing.
Many purposes.
Well, oh, and I forgot the best part of the story. I hooked the stuff up out of order the first time before it started spraying, and when I turned it on, I was leaning over it, reaching behind it, and a jet 1 inch thick of fish poop water shot directly into my mouth. Like I don't know why my mouth was open, but I was leaning over it and I plugged it in, and the hose popped off, and it like just perfect shot from about 6 inches away, and I just got a mouthful of sort of clean filter water.
Oh, man.
If you imagine all the stuff in a 125-gallon tank that like settles to the bottom and then gets filtered out, that hit me in the mouth. So then I'm like, I'm probably going to die. I was pretty certain that I got some sort of disease anyway. It's a couple days later and my fish are alive, my tank is clean, I'm not, I don't have some sort of weird flesh-eating bacteria. Anyway.
But talk about, it always usually comes in 3s, so that's you had your 3, now you need good things, right?
That's hope.
That's, wow, rough few days, man.
I probably could have figured all of that stuff, each one of those things out faster if I like had 8 hours of sleep. But every single one of those things, it took like processing power, and I'm just so foggy because I'm so tired that I'm like sitting there just going, okay, do I need to compare ingredients? Like, or what? Like I was in the aisle and I'm like, there's this one thing called gasket maker, which is not a gasket lubricant, but it is for like giant RVs. You can make your own gasket. And then I was like, I could make, and I'm like, no, there's no way I'm going to sit here and make my own gasket. That's ridiculous. And anyway, yeah. So it was weird. It was weird 3 days.
That sounds like a tough 3 days anyway. And then if you throw in the fact that you're pretty much been like in a sleep depth tank.
Yeah.
That's a rough one, Corey.
Can I
Oh
tell you
man.
something about babies that I don't get? Is just eat faster. I
Yeah.
I I am so impatient.
Well,
I love this kid, but like there is the tiniest pinhole. I don't even want to call it a pinhole because it's way smaller than an actual pin in the end of these stupid bottles in the nipple, and like they're working super hard at it, and it is
yeah.
like it takes like half an hour to feed him 2 ounces of
Oh
liquid,
yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
and I can't do anything. I think I've figured out a system. I'm gonna go get a paint stick and some rubber bands, because my problem is I can't hold the bottle and the kid with one hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think if I extend the reach of the bottle that I could do it.
I
So
love it. You're doing MacGyver work with the bottle feeding. That's
because I'm just sitting
oh
there for
man.
half an hour or
Oh,
more.
it's so tough. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it takes forever for them to. And then the weird thing is, at least with my kid, like if you like tilt the bottle a little off, it like throws off the whole thing, and then
they
it's like
freak
you have
out.
to start from ground zero again.
Yeah, you
It's
gotta.
just
No, this is what we were doing. It just moved for a second. It's fine. Yeah,
yeah. Don't worry, dude. You're good. You're getting your food. Just calm down, dude.
yeah.
Calm down.
So
And then they pass out. You know, it's
yep.
crazy.
And they'll pass out like an ounce in, and you're like, no, dude, you're gonna starve, and you're
Yeah,
gonna wake me up in 45 minutes hungry
yeah.
if you don't finish this. So you
No,
gotta wake them up, feed them more.
it is amazing to me that any parents, any of us, manage to keep our kids alive.
I
Like,
still I
through that,
still
I mean,
maintain that
it's a
the
miracle.
fact that the human race exists at all doesn't make any sense.
No,
I
it's
don't know why
crazy.
we're
Like,
why are we still here? It's
yeah, kids.
every human being walking around is a miracle that they made it to the age they're at, because
Oh yeah, because you are born like not wanting to do anything to survive, and like parents have to really go. It's crazy. It's
yeah,
like it's like the first kind of 2 years or so, or just like even when they start walking, it's like, wait, you just really want to do that because that'll kill you. Like
right, yeah,
if you put all safe items in a room and there's one item that's unsafe, that's where your kid will go.
hmm
If
yeah,
they have their choice between like all these chewy toys when they're teething and like the one thing they shouldn't chew on because it'll kill them, that's what they'll pick is the
yep,
thing that'll kill them. It's
yep,
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, it's nuts.
yeah.
But it's also fun and
It
cute.
is
But man,
later.
yeah, no, like see, I have the advantage of being like distant from it, so I'm like, oh, I kind of missed that. You know, I got pretty good at swaddling.
Yeah,
You know, I think delirium allows you like during that whole experience, it's like when you're out of it, you're able to kind of look back and be like, yeah, that wasn't so bad.
right. Yeah. Oh man, it's funny.
Oh,
Anyway,
all
I
right.
could I could talk about it forever. How about plans? What do you plan on doing? I imagine we'll meet on Saturday, not on Friday, because one day really isn't long enough, right?
Yeah, I think we might actually have to go for like Sunday
Okay.
or just skip because I have a gig on Saturday
Oh,
night
okay.
at
Cool.
10 o'clock. My band is
Yeah.
playing. So,
Awesome.
although you know what, Saturday day, maybe Saturday like morning or something.
Sure.
We
Yeah.
can try.
Yeah. We'll
Well,
figure something out.
we'll figure it out. Um,
So what are your plans before the next round?
so
Whenever that may
let's
be.
aim for Saturday. We'll try to make it work.
Okay.
My plans would be I want to make a little more progress on that video because I'm having fun with it. I'm
Cool.
learning. I'm
Yeah.
getting faster at it, and I'm really starting to fall in love with After Effects. And I'm not doing a lot of crazy stuff, but it's amazing how intuitive it is. It's just kind of it's a lot like Photoshop or Illustrator, where it's like
Yeah.
if you play around, like you just start discovering. And for me, like with it's a good way to kind of learn because it's a project.
Right.
So I'm excited about it, and I'm excited. It actually makes me even rethink my own vlogs and stuff on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that particularly when I'm done with quarterly stories, I'm going to really start doing more After Effects on my videos and crisply editing and stuff, because it's just insane what the capabilities are on there.
Yeah. Have you tried any of those projects from my playlists?
Not yet.
So if anybody is interested in doing this, I'm saying this to the audience, though I know Josh has to listen to me. I have an entire playlist called AI to AE, which teaches you how to go from Adobe Illustrator to Adobe After Effects. And there are 4 projects where I give you all of the project files, all of the assets, and take you through how to do things. And literally after you do those 4 projects, you will have been introduced to like 95% of what you need to know to like do 2D and 2.5D animation in there. It's pretty cool.
That is amazing. And I really, actually, when I finish this, just the text part of this thing that I'm working on, I'm going to dip into those so I can kind of see if there's some extra stuff I can throw in there.
Cool.
The other goal is just to hopefully, let's see, by Saturday, I just want to get like at least 2/3 of the way done with the rough pencils on this page. I know that the thing that's going to take the longest on this page is the rough pencils. Once those are done, the second pass of pencils will be quick comparatively, and then the inking should go a lot quicker as well, because it's just a lot of like placement and resizing and kind of working out characters and figures, and so it's taking me a little bit of time. But
cool.
Crowd scenes just kind of usually in the development stage. That's the hard part.
Yeah. Well, it's looking awesome right now. I mean, it's gonna be great. I like the placement of the shadows and how you're gonna have some really good value contrast to separate like your figure ground. I think it's gonna be great. I'm excited to see it done.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm working on it and still needs some tweaking, but it'll be what it is. So that's my goal. We'll see how well I do. What's yours? What's your goal?
Yeah, so I would like to get. I've been trying to get in contact with a couple people for some final passes on the text. I want to get together like the finished PDF of the book with the final, semi-final like words writing. That's what we call it, right? The lettering, I've dialed it into where I like it, so I'll do that. And then I'm also really excited because I've gotten some people that I was pretty excited to get. And so tomorrow at 2 p.m. Mountain Time, I will be interviewing Brandon Dayton on my show. And so, and then next week I'll be interviewing Josh Talbot. And those are 2 artists that I love their work. And so that's really starting to pick up. And Brandon's got some awesome experience in comics and conventions and doing a number of different things.
Green Monk coming out through Image now, which is kind of awesome. So huge, awesome, super talented guy. I'm sure. Honestly, man, that'll be fun to like just pick his brain.
Yeah, he's got a really interesting YouTube channel because he goes like philosophically kind of pulls together a lot of like different types of like political thought, and anyway, it's kind of interesting what he extrapolates out of different things that he reads and then pulls it into art. And so I'm kind of excited to interview him tomorrow. I actually just shot him a message today thinking that he might, if he said yes at all, he might pencil me in at some point in time. He's like, I'm good tomorrow, and then I'm going off the grid for a couple weeks. And I was like, well, let's do it tomorrow. So
perfect.
Yeah, so that worked out really well. So those are my plans. I might even attempt to cut the narration of another video or 2 for Illitalk, because I had kind of a brainstorm of like 2 or 3 ideas, and I want to get them out while I can. There's one where I'm going to tie in, what is that dude's name? I forget his name, but he's one of the key figures of the French Revolution. In with a lot of No. He's one of the ones that ran the. He ran the terror, brought in the initial like government instituted terror program.
Oh.
I know his name. Let me see if I can. What is his name? Robespierre. Yeah, Maximilian Robespierre. So anyway, that sounds super boring, but there's a lot of stuff that's happening today in the creative world and in the art world that reminds me of a lot of the things that were happening under Maximilian Robespierre's few months of rule, where he guillotined a significant portion of the country that he lived in, and had the best of intentions, and we'd probably all agree with a lot of the things that he was trying to accomplish. So anyway, it just kind of came to me that it feels like that right now. So I'm going to talk about that, and then there's a couple others, but I don't have to go into them right now. But I've been doing a bunch of research on that to kind of see if my theory plays out. I think it does, at least in kind of a microcosm.
I'm fascinated in that and hearing how that goes.
Yeah.
I've always thought like it's sad. Like I don't know. It's sad to me that like this is my own philosophy, but it's always sad to me that like a revolution like that wouldn't work. And then also just the way that it usually explodes beyond the intention, to where just like a ton of innocent people get harmed.
Right.
And then what you end up with is like a government for like 2 seconds that's what the people want, and then a dictator. It's kind of crazy. So
yeah, it's weird. Because I mean, he was for women's rights. He was for suffrage. He was an abolitionist. He was for religious freedom. He was for anti-dictatorships and for democracy. And the way that he tried to institute that was by beheading tens of thousands of people who disagreed with him.
And it was one of those theories. It was kind of like socialist theory too, or not socialist. That's wrong to say. Leninist, I should say.
Right.
Where it's like, on paper, man, Leninism is really appealing.
Right.
And I'd say it's almost as appealing as like a pure free market, like a totally free market.
Right.
They're both kind of appealing in the same. This is a totally different topic, but they're appealing in the same way, where they're both kind of ridiculous and impossible to achieve.
Right.
But if they had never been tried before, and there weren't all these historical examples of how disastrous they are, and you're a person who's like reading this for the first time, honestly, back in the day, I might have been a Leninist, reading it. But then you see what happened to the government and stuff at the time, and just the society in general, and it's just it's so interesting. It's good for a story writer too, because it's a good reminder that if you ever have a villain, they
give your villain a noble cause.
Yeah, some of the most scary villains are the ones that really think they're doing good, and then I even think of the most recent Star Wars installment, where I feel like that was one of the biggest strengths of it, was that they kind of made Kylo Ren, like, when he's talking about his plans and stuff, it's a little more like, oh, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, okay. That, like, they made him like somebody you could empathize with just a little bit.
Yeah. And
they kind of show the appeal of like his thinking. And so it kind of makes the dark side even more devious and more scary, because if the dark side's actually not just straight evil,
right,
like it's evil, but it's, maybe got some good ideas and good intentions behind it. That's the scariest,
Right.
Either that or just do a straight up force of nature villain, But
right.
Anyhow. All right. Well, let's call it. We probably both need to get to our projects and get some sleep. But
I don't have the chat pulled up. Do we have anybody in the chat?
No, chat is dead as a doornail today. So
it's probably my Astroglide story. Everybody just left.
I was just thinking, like, I wonder if that'll get flagged. There's just gonna, like, the scanner's gonna go through it and be like, shot in the face, Astroglide.
Oh, jeez.
Just gonna hear all these things that out of
context. Okay, yeah.
terrible. Yeah. All right. So anyhow,
on that note,
that lovely picture.
So if you want to check out Josh's stuff, you can go to quarterlystories.com and check it out on Tapas. Tapas is a little mobile reader for comics, and you can subscribe and boost his numbers there, which is always helpful. One of the cool things about comics and personal projects is even if you don't have any money, you can still help creators that you like out by sharing, liking, subscribing, passing it around, reading it, doing all that type of stuff is super helpful. And so if you haven't done that, or if you haven't done that recently, go do that. And if you want to see my stuff, you can go to CoryKerr.com. And there's a bunch of stuff there. And seriously, I continue to think and see proof that if you are an illustrator or a graphic designer, you need to know how to make things move. And so we had mentioned that playlist that I've done. It's called AI to AE, and it's on my YouTube channel. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go to the channel and check out AI to AE. Real quick playlist. It's not like my vector graphics playlist where it's like 5 hours worth of content spread over like 50 videos. It's like six videos, and they're all 10 to 15 minutes. But I would watch that if you've even been remotely interested. I can almost guarantee it will help your career to know how to make things move, even just a little bit.
And I can vouch for the fact that you won't regret it. Cory is a genius with this stuff, and he might downplay it and say he's new and stuff to it, but After Effects is really exciting, and Cory's the guy to teach you that. So go check it out. Yeah.
And special thanks to No Saboteurs, and you can check out their stuff at facebook.com/NoSaboteurs. And if you are in Josh's area, they're going to have a gig this Saturday, so you should go check them out there. And I'm sure that's posted on their Facebook page, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll catch you guys later.
All right, bye.